Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to a walk and talk slash contest entry. Um, I'm getting a little bit more into the contest. I've only done a couple. There's another one that I want to do that I promised a fellow vinyl community member that I would do for him, but that one will require props, i.e., albums, and I don't have those with me right now. But I wanted to go ahead and get this one out of the way so that I could make more time when I'm back home with my albums to do his entry. But this one is focusing on a guy I just recently subscribed to, probably not even 3 weeks ago. Jeff Whitcher, the Vinyl Destination is his channel name, and he just hit the milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which I'm plateaued at about 126, 125. I've been there for about a month now, so to reach 1,000 is just beyond me. I know it can be done, but anyway, this is about Jeff. Congrats, Jeff. He's a funny guy. If you don't know his channel, he does a lot of parody type videos, like a lot of tongue-in-cheek kind of comedy. He loves all sorts of music. I mean, he likes classic rock, he likes, pop, whatever. He's like all of us. He likes certain things that are more specific to him, and then broad things. But his contest rule is to just talk about your favorite band and just talk about why that's the case. Now, I'm trying to think about how to do this, and even like while I'm on camera, I'm deciding how I'm going to do this. So I think I'm going to veer away from my favorite band. My favorite band, just like Jeff, and I'm sure most of us, my favorite band is the Beatles. And they've been my favorite band since 2009. I was a freshman in high school when I started collecting Beatles records or CDs. It was when the 2009 remasterings came out, and I bought all the CDs. I had Beatles Rock Band. I was knocking that thing out all the time, and I just became a Beatles nut. And I loved the Beatles before, but that's when I really went all in with the deep cuts. So the Beatles are my favorite band. I'm not going to say anything more about that. They're the greatest thing that's ever walked planet Earth musically. But I'm going to talk about, like, if the Beatles were out of the equation, who I would go to. And that would be, as many of you know, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. They're obviously my favorite American band, bar none. I think part of the reason I like Tom Petty so much, and they started in the mid-'70s as Tom Petty. Tom Petty was playing earlier in the 70s down in Florida with his band Mudcrutch, which they eventually reunited in 2008 and 2017 to release the two Mudcrutch albums, which are fantastic. But Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, I think what makes them so cool is that they were kind of that bridge of rock and roll. They came out during a time when, punk was going in. Like, you had the Ramones, you had the Sex Pistols, you had, oh gosh, who else? I can't even think. The punk scene. The Clash. That's another one. That's the big one. These groups were like that. This was the new rock and roll, was punk. And then on the other end, you had new wave coming out. That early, that pre-1980s sound was starting to come out with the new wave artists. And Tom Petty, they were trying to label Tom Petty as a punk rocker, and then they tried to label him as new wave. So if you look at Tom Petty's debut self-titled album, the cover of it has Tom Petty in like a leather jacket with like a bullet strap across his chest with like bullets in it. So they try to make him look punk. I think they put the record in the new wave section, and Petty was just like, no, we're just straightforward rock and roll. We're not punk, we're not new wave. But what what made him so cool was that the Heartbreakers were, I think, that bridge between the old rock and roll and then, I guess it would be like, Tom Petty grew up with rock and roll in his life. I mean, he was born 1950. He grew up listening to, you know, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, like the Elvis, like the go-to 50s guys. And then, of course, like everybody, he saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and his world opened up. That's when that's when people said, all right, we're going to go into music as a career. And Petty was that bridge between the old and the new. They obviously took influences from, you know, those 60s guys like the Beatles, from the Byrds, from like those Bob Dylan electric albums. Petty kind of sang like Roger McGuinn and Bob Dylan. They played with Rickenbacker guitars, 12-string guitars. And I mean, their first 3 albums were obviously like a tribute. They were reminiscent. They were reflections of music from the 60s. And then, of course, they got their own sound. They released hit album after hit album. They had tons of hits on the radio through the 80s. Tom Petty had a few more hits in the 90s as a solo artist, and a couple with the Heartbreakers. But Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers knew how to create a hook in a song. They had the best, like the tightest band. They could play covers of songs and make them sound fresh. I mean, they played stuff like Mystic Eyes by Them, Psychotic Reaction. They played, you know, Manish Boy, you know, Shout by the Isley Brothers. I mean, they can play anything, and it was good. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, I think Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are the only band, and Tom Petty himself, that I don't think they have a bad song. Even the Beatles, in my opinion, have a bad song. Like, there were some Beatles songs that I'll skip. Tom Petty, I'm not skipping any of Tom Petty stuff. Even like the Echo era of Tom Petty in the 90s and 2000s, or like The Last DJ. Yeah, he had songs that, you know, might have dragged a little long, especially like on the Mojo album, and a few on The Last DJ, but they don't stink. They're not bad. You know, my favorite artist is Bob Dylan. He has bad songs. The Beatles had some bad songs. You know, I love John Prine. John Prine had some bad songs. I love The Who. The Who have bad songs. Tom Petty consistently put out good music up until the end. He was a legend. The Heartbreakers are legends. I hate that the Heartbreakers are no more after Petty's passing in 2017, because they are a killer band. They could play as just a band and back anybody and be the greatest rock and roll band still. So anyway, that's my ramblings. Jeff, congratulations on the subs and the 1,000. Keep it up. Keep up that funny content. And I look forward to the results of the contest. So y'all take it easy. From Virginia, I bid you all adieu.